This is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback, with Jeff Snider. So where's the optimism here, Jeff?
The optimism is that digital currencies, real digital currencies, especially blockchain technology, have the capacity, or at least, the future capacity or future possibility of solving a lot of our monetary problems, which begin and end with the fact that, the Eurodollar system, this offshore bank-centered system, nobody really knows anything about it, even those of us like myself who, I spent the last 20 some odd years trying to figure out all what's going on. And it's a completely opaque. It's not transparent. Banks are, they're using their privilege of maintaining this ledger money of account system. Therefore, it privileges what banks do rather than the real economy, which causes all sorts of feedback problems. And in a lot of, possible ideal situations, digital and cryptocurrencies can solve a lot of these drawbacks. And maybe if done correctly, it's not going to be easy. And of course, central banks and governments are going to fight tooth and nail against any sort of private monetary solution. But there is potential there. If everything goes maybe just right, and maybe, there's a little more leeway than that, there is a lot of hope in digital currencies. It's not because the dollar is going to be destroyed by money printing, because that's not happening. It's because there's a lack of dollar elasticity in the global economy, and we need a competing currency system, a realistic currency system that could potentially take some of the reserve currency roles that are not being filled by the current monetary.
But will these shadowy actors allow it to happen? Or will they, in fact, buy, like if I were them, right, if I would just start buying up all the Bitcoin so that they control that market too.
But that would just lead to the Bitcoin 2.0. I think it's really an arms race. But you're right, Josh. I mean, like I said, it's not just the central bankers and politicians that are going to fight tooth and nail against this sort of private, decentralized monetary system. The banking system as well has enjoyed these privileges, even though the last 14 years for banks have been an incredibly awful time. It's better than the alternative, which is, decentralized finance. If it goes correctly, we don't even need banks anymore. You really don't need that kind of intermediation, nor do you need that sort of information asymmetry, because in a truly decentralized blockchain format, everything's open and available to everybody else. You don't need banks, which are nothing more than glorified accountants nowadays anyway. So a blockchain could take the role of a lot of these banks and what they do. So, yeah, I mean, the more far-sighted of the banking institutions that currently enjoy their Eurodollar privileges are going to do everything they possibly can to hold on to what they have, even if what they have is meager and it doesn't really work.
We hear that,
very well,
I guess, with
them.
Jamie Dimon always being very negative on Bitcoin. But here's another take. I think 99% of these cryptocurrencies are scams, not Bitcoin.
A lot of them are.
And
absolutely.
I think the DOJ is going to go after all these cryptocurrency scams like Shiba Inu or whoever, because what I don't get is you're some billionaire like Vitaly Buterin, one guy, and then you have a Tesla tweet, an Elon Musk tweet. I mean, it's so... Some of this is like, they're pumping and dumping these various cryptocurrencies. Once the DOJ gets in there, a lot of the more centralized, because most cryptocurrencies, it's funny, they're supposed to be decentralized. There is usually some guy who gets super rich, who was at the center, who created the code, which is sort of against it. And that's sort of the genius of Bitcoin. Nobody knows, who Satoshi was and all these other things, but I think
I think you got to separate what's going on in some of these more risky plays as well from what the actual technology and the development of the technology is happening. Again, as I said, I think a lot of people are trading crypto for the wrong idea. They think the dollar is going to crash, inflation is going to go through the roof and stay that way forever, when some of these technologies like Ethereum, for example, and Bitcoin, as you referenced, they're actually legitimate technologies. You have to sort the wheat from the chaff, which is difficult. And anytime you face we get into a period where there's disruptive technologies, think the .com era, for example, there's always that kind of potential for fraud and scams and doing things that, just make no sense, which is going to always be, that's always going to come along anytime that we're in these periods where, again, this is really, really positive and potentially useful technology, But it's tough to tell which one is legitimate, which one isn't, if you don't do your homework, if you don't really look at them. I mean, you look at a lot of these stable coins, for example, they're nothing more than glorified money market funds. And you wonder, what the hell is the point? And I think you just hit the nail on the head, Josh, when the point is, well, the person who came up with a stable coin wants to get rich for themselves, and that's what they're really selling. They're selling you an idea, and you really have to look behind the idea to see whether or not there's anything significant, substantial in the technology. And there is in some parts of the space, but you're absolutely right. There is a minefield out there that you need to navigate first. You got to be very careful.
Definitely. So you made me think about, well, where are the opportunities? If what you're saying is true, euro dollar, dried up liquidity, disinflation. I asked Lacey Hunt this. You two are in the same camp on disinflation and kind of how things are disinflationary. Then you really shouldn't buy a house right now.
No, you should wait for prices to come down.
Yeah, and what about stocks? Are you pro stocks, against stocks? What are your opinions on opportunities?
I'm stock agnostic.
Depends on the stock.
Look, no, I mean, stocks are, everybody. That's where everybody looks to, because again, that's what we're conditioned to look to, and you have to realize that stock prices don't trade on any sort of fundamentals, because they don't, and they haven't for a very long time. Which means, that doesn't mean you can't invest in stocks. It just means you have to be careful, like digital currencies. You got to be careful about what you do in stocks, because there really isn't that kind of fundamental anchor. Certainly not in this age of passive investing, where stocks just, everybody piles into stocks because everybody piles into stocks.
The preceding program was sponsored by the Jalinski Advisory Group.
Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications, including 5-Star Wealth Manager, Advisory of the Year finalist by Senior Market Advisor, and top of the $1 Million Roundtable, are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Josh Jalinski or Wealth Quarterback LLC. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Wealth Quarterback website at www.jalinski.org. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage in such strategies. This broadcast should not be construed by any client or prospective client as a solicitation to effect or attempt to effect transactions in securities, or the rendering of personalized investment advice. Due to various factors, including changing market conditions, the information discussed in this broadcast may no longer be reflective of current positions or recommendations. While information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, Josh Jalinski and Wealth Quarterback do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. The tax and estate planning information discussed is general in nature, is provided for informational purposes only, and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Advisory services offered through Wealth Quarterback LLC.